Hello, welcome to my full spoiler-free review of The End of Oak Street, which I just got out of. And just in case, for those that have come directly to my full spoiler-free review, I'm going to do a very brief overview just in case you didn't see my short. So the premise of this movie is that you have this suburban neighborhood, Oak Street, that there's this cosmic event that happens that rips the neighborhood and moves it somewhere else. And you have the Platt family, who's the main family that you follow along in this movie, and they have to find a way to survive. They got to stick together while they're navigating the new surroundings. And so I just want to get into this movie and describing my experience and going through all the spoiler-free stuff. So I'm Shay, and let's get into it. So honestly, this movie was really, really fun. But it wasn't just fun, it was engaging, it was entertaining, it was funny, but there was moments that I cried because my heart was breaking at times. There were times that I was just wanting to, hit the fast forward button because it was just like I just wanted to get through the scene. The dinosaurs in this movie were really, really well done, and it got me thinking, what period are the dinosaurs from? And so I was reading going through this Reddit board page after watching the movie, and there were people commenting saying, from watching the trailer, do you feel like this is going to be Jurassic Park meets Suburbia? And it's very much that. And, it was really interesting. And I do agree with some of the comments in that having this Jurassic World, in a sense, in this suburban neighborhood, and suburbia is supposed to be this very safe, family oriented, and even the time period, I was really curious about what time period the neighborhood setting is in. And it's not a present day setting, it's in the past. There's like a retro aspect to it, so it was very much like family oriented before all the technology and all of that. So really, really interesting, the time period that they chose to have like happening in suburbia at this time. And so, I was thinking while watching this movie, how the story would be if it was present day. And it just got me thinking of, if I were to be, I grew up in suburbia, if I were to be in suburbia and my neighborhood were to just get ripped and transported somewhere else, and there was dinosaurs and all of that, like, I don't know how I would manage, honestly. So really, this movie was action-packed. Back to the dinosaurs, the way they did the dinosaurs, I know that, you have the past movies, Jurassic Park, and how as time has gone on, paleontologists, they have determined that the likelihood of dinosaurs having like feathers and fur of sorts. So I really liked how they did the dinosaurs in this movie, because it was like they were doing dinosaurs based on, the research that has been done, in the decades since, the first Jurassic Park movie. So I really like that. I really liked the inner workings of the family, the Platt family as well, and how you deal with, every family has difficulties in different ways. And it was just really interesting watching this movie. And, you realize that in the big scheme of things, it's like the mundane things that you end up fighting about aren't that important. So it was interesting seeing the conflicts that happen and all of that, and the panic, and the chase scenes that happen in it. And there were times that I just get so frustrated with the characters, because I'm like, what are you doing? But then I'm like, but what would I do if I were to be in their shoes? What would I do? Would I do that? And it was just really interesting, kind of trying to think of like, what if that was me and my family? How would I handle things? And it's like, would I do something differently? And it was just super, super interesting. And the way they did this cosmic event is also really interesting. And it's a movie that, it's one of those movies I would describe being like a full circle movie. So, it's a movie that kind of where things ended was like, it was nice. Like, you got a nice little bow tied, and, the ending was very nice. I'm really happy with where the movie ended. And honestly, when I was watching the movie, I had no idea. Like, it's like, okay, you have this, you have this family, and they're in this neighborhood that's gotten moved. It's like, how are they going to get out of this? But there are things that happen in the movie, and then you're like, well, how is this going to get resolved? And it had aspects. I know there's some people that I guess thought there were aspects that reminded them of the movie Cloverfield, which there's coincidence, but it's not at all that. But it's just really interesting. Like, time plays a big role in this movie. I won't specify what exactly involving time. But yeah, I mean, I just keep circling back to these dinosaurs, because it was just like, it was just unbelievable. And just when you think you've seen all the dinosaurs, that you're like, okay, like, we've seen all the dinosaurs, that no, there's more, and then there's more, and then there's more. And it's just like, man, like, some of the kills that you see in this movie were just brutal. And it doesn't shy away from that. And it's just, you get completely locked in. And honestly, this movie it keeps you engaged through the entire length. Like, the movie just flew by. Honestly, I really, really enjoyed this movie. It was super engaging. It got you thinking. There's people that are saying comments about, the connections to real life and real events and things like that, and conflicts that have happened. And, I'm not too sure about that, but, there's something to be said about it getting you thinking about, life in a different way. And honestly, the special effects in the movie were really well done. The plant life that you see in it is really, really well done. And I was watching it, and you'd see dinosaurs, and you're like, oh, you have these modern animals that are from today, that they say that their ancestors, millions of years ago, they come from dinosaurs. So it was really interesting seeing some of the dinosaurs in this movie, and it's like, oh, I can see that, your distant relations will eventually become this animal. And there's times that it's like I was watching the movie and then I would see some dinosaurs and I wouldn't make the connection until seeing them in like a different perspective, like when they're on the hunt or something like that. And you know, there's deaths that happen in this movie of people that you just didn't expect. There's people and things that survive that you don't think that they're gonna survive. My heart was pumping so fast, beating so fast. Honestly, this thoroughly was a really, really good movie. Funny. No real lulls. Like the lulls that you see in it are still very stressful because it's like you people are being hunted. And it was interesting. While I was watching this movie, I'm looking at the dinosaurs that dinosaurs would normally hunt, and then like the size of people, and it's like, man, if this were to actually happen, like humans are just such easy targets because it's like we've evolved, after dinosaurs went extinct. And so seeing like the size difference and the different types of predators and, the the dinosaurs that are herbivores and, the way, there's so many layers to this movie. And, honestly, it was thoroughly a really good movie. A really, really good movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I was late. So I missed probably like the first 5 minutes of the movie. So part of me is like, I think I want to see it again simply to be able to make more connections. And because I know that there's so many layers to this movie, and I want to talk about things in more detail, but alas, this is a spoiler-free video, so I have to be very vague in my descriptions, and I can't be very specific, but honestly, this movie really blew it out of the park. Like, I think back to remembering watching the first Jurassic Park and how I felt. And this movie made me feel a lot of what I felt when watching the first Jurassic Park. You laugh at times, you're surprised at times, unsettled, scared, unnerved. I can't say that I cried. Like, this movie is very emotional. Each of the members of the Platt family, like, they have their own stuff going on, and you're right there with them, and I teared up a couple times watching this movie, and it's an emotional movie in many different ways, but honestly, I'd keep going back to it, but the dinosaurs were just awesome. They were so well done, like so well done. And you got to see so much more of the dinosaur. And I think you got to see more of the dinosaurs because it's like you're in, this suburban neighborhood. There's glass the dinosaurs can easily get into. You have cars that dinosaurs can easily, cut their way through. And, the stealth some of the dinosaurs had was just like, they're just so sneaky. And, you're watching a scene and then, you see a dinosaur in the background and you're like, you need to turn around. Like, if it were me, if I were to be in this situation and I were to be like in a house, it's like I would be constantly looking around. I would, it's like, it's one of those things that, but then it's like, would I actually do that in real life? I don't know. But honestly, this really was a great movie. It really, really was. I thoroughly enjoyed it so much. So, please let me know. Are you going to watch the movie? Are you excited about the movie? Were you curious about the movie? I know I was curious about the movie. I saw that, the very brief trailer where you see, them say like our neighborhood has moved, and then you see the edge of a cliff, and you see a dinosaur that passes. They're in the house and they see a dinosaur passing by the window. Like, I remember only bits and pieces of the trailer, but it got me really, really intrigued. And so I think anyone that watches this movie, and honestly, looking at the reviews, people were very, very happy with this movie, for various different reasons. Like, it's thoroughly, like, someone was commenting about it being like a very Spielberg-esque film, even though it wasn't directed by a Spielberg. But yeah, how was my review? Were you unsure, but after listening to my review, you're going to watch it now? Put anything you'd like in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you liked my review, you can hit the like button. If you, want to send it to someone who isn't too sure, but they want to hear about the experience and some details without it giving, away, like the big plot aspects, feel free to share it. If you're liking my videos, you can hit subscribe, and then you can turn the little bell and you'll get notified exactly when I upload. But yeah, as always, I appreciate everyone that listens, watches, plays any of my videos. I'm very, very appreciative. I love going to movies and then talking about movies, and it's just such a passion of mine. It's genuinely just such a passion of mine that I really want to dive so much more into. But as always, thank you so much for listening, watching, and until the next one, thanks so much. Bye.